I do pageants or scholarship competitions. They're not the glitz one by any mean. And so my very first one, I was 5 years old. We learned that there was a personal introduction, and it was your name, where you're from, and something unique about yourself. So my mom said, okay, Izabella, just say it. And they were just gonna see what happens. And so I said, hi, my name is Izabella Ardnt, and I was born in China with a hole in my heart. But then I came to West Des Moines, and I got a new family, new toys, and here I am today. I was born in the countryside of China to a pretty poor family. They abandoned me in the living quarters of an electrical company. I had a $50 size hole in my heart and Hep C. We believe that my mother passed away from it since they could not afford to keep me with my issues. We know that they loved me a lot because they kept me for as long as possible without me passing away. So they ensured that I would have life. And by doing that, they had to give me up. When I was going away, or I was going to go be left in the electrical company, they had said zaijian, which means time to go now, or goodbye, and that was my dad, my mom, and my grandpa and my grandmother. They were crying, and it was, very sad. On the 4th floor of the orphanage, there was Australian missionaries. They took me to a military hospital where I spent 3 weeks, and they fixed up my heart. When I was adopted, my parents had come over for about 3 weeks to China, so they were there for a couple weeks before they had met me. I was not communicating, I was not making eye contact. I was just in a state of shock. I didn't know what was going on. I was taken away from the orphanage. I had no idea who I was with, and then it took me a few days to warm up to them, and then finally I warmed up. And I think a lot of that was because they had brought a backpack of comfort for me, and in there was a stuffed animal, some toys, and there was also this keychain. It was a toy keychain, and on there was this one button, and it sounded like a rickshaw bell, which was what you hear all the time in China. And we think that helped warm me up to them a little bit because I still had something that was mine that I remember, but I was also still surrounded by these new people. My very first Easter home, I'd only been home for a few months. My mom had a really bad cough, and so she was coughing a lot. And I had picked up half of a clear plastic egg and placed it over her mouth like an oxygen mask, and that triggered memories of the hospital. And so then my adopted mom started asking, who was with you in the hospital? Do you remember anything? And I told her a man with dark hair was in the hospital with me. Given that it's China, everyone has dark hair. And so then she said, do you remember his name? And I said, Jesus, Mommy. And at that time, we had not talked about Jesus. We had talked about God a little bit, but at such a young age, Jesus was a hard concept to understand. And so then she said, well, did he tell you anything or say anything? And I said, he told me that everything was gonna be okay and that my new family's on the way, and I just need to be patient. And that was my mom's prayer for the time that she was waiting for a referral to me. And she was always, every day, twice a day, 3 times a day, she was always praying, Jesus, God, just please let my future child know that they're gonna be okay, that we're on the way, and that, everything's gonna be okay. When my mom was 13, she had told her mom that she wanted to adopt. She didn't want kids of her own. She's had this dream ever since she was young, and then she waited pretty late in life to get married. Both my parents are older, and when they finally met, they tried to have children, but it didn't happen. That wasn't God's plan. And then they entered the adoption journey. Every day, 3 times a day, my mom would pray up and say, God, you know who our future child is. Go to them and tell them that they're gonna be okay and that their new family's on the way. Then in the hospital, that happened to me. And so that was pretty crazy. I believe ever since I was young, God has always had me on this path, and I don't know what the path always is, and I just kind of go with it. Obviously he never wants bad things to happen to people, but I believe that he was right there in the time of darkness, and he was my light, and I've always had that really special connection to him. Anything I do, I will pray to him, and I'll just be give me some sort of sign that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And if it's not, I'm gonna find something else and ask you again. He's always given me signs, and whether that's just like a sense of reassurance, or I'm also on the worship team, and while I'm worshiping, there's been times where I just get this relief, and I have no idea where it comes from, and it's like just a shiver through your spine, and it's amazing because I just feel calm after that. And that's how I know that he's there, and that he's giving me those signs that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I went to a Christian preschool, and it was my first Thanksgiving home, and we were doing like a little kernel of thanks. My teacher was going around asking everyone in the room, what are you thankful for? And everyone's like, oh, I'm thankful for my sister, I'm thankful for my dog, I'm thankful for my parents. And I was the only one who said, I'm thankful for Jesus. And so then when my mom came to pick me up that day, my little kernel was on this bulletin board. Then my mom went to my teacher, and my teacher is just in tears, and she goes, I have this room full of little Christian kids, and my little Buddha girl's the only one who's thankful for Jesus. Jesus was not a topic that we had fully covered. And so he really did just introduce himself to me, and he was the one who put himself in my heart. He just surprises me every day. And like I've said, it doesn't always feel like he's there, but I know he's there. And I think that alone just kind of surprises me, because, I'll be in what I feel like is my darkest and my lowest low, and he's right there to pick me up. And that's always just a surprise to me, because, when you're in the darkness, you feel like you're alone. But he's like, no, you're not alone. It's okay. I think that everything he's done through me is super surprising. I mean, looking back on my life, I'm surprised. When I was 10, I have a room full of toys, Legos, Barbies, whatever you probably could imagine. And I decided that I didn't want toys that year, because I get a big birthday party at 5, 10, and 16. I'm like, you know what? I don't need them. I want to give my toys to someone who needs them more. With the help of my mom, we narrowed that group down to children in foster care. At my party, I asked my birthday guests to bring comfort items as if they were going to grandma's for the weekend, and we put them in backpacks. And so then my Backpacks of Comfort program was born. And then I also went to my school and asked for the same thing, so we asked for backpacks and comfort items. And then I partnered with Four Oaks Family Connections, which is the state-appointed foster care program. With their help, they had distributed the backpacks, which there was 39 my very first year. And then I just kept donating. When I was 12, there was this girl at a sleepover. We were at my best friend's sleepover, and it was 2 a.m. and we were just talking about anything. And it got brought up that she was in foster care. And so I started asking her, did you get like a backpack by chance? Because the timeline matched up. And she said, yeah, I did. So I started asking her questions, like what was in it? What it looked like? Tell me everything. And we figured out that she had received one of my backpacks. And that was our very first big clue that, my backpacks are really getting out into the communities and that they're helping. And so from there, it just blossomed. In total, I've donated around 3,526 backpacks to the state or to Four Oaks Family Connections. And I do wish to grow that program. I actually hope to take my program not just in our state, but also to other states. I am so thankful for any opportunity that he has given me to not only share my story, but also make a difference in my community. I honestly cannot be more grateful, and my life is up to him, and he can do whatever he wants through me. This is my calling, and even though I seem like this crazy, out of this world teen, I feel very called to do all of this, and this is something I wish to continue and pursue, and I can't wait to see what he has in store. I know that, my family and I've had our battles with my trauma and my past and just having to deal with all that, but I've had the best life I could probably have. And so I know that that's just absolutely amazing, and I wish more people would adopt, but again, it's not in everyone's heart to do so. Life is a crazy storm, and I know that's cliche, but it is. And the only thing you can do is just stop and sit still and pray. When you pray and you really just sit there and you listen, God will be able to point you to the path that you'll be able to take. Just listening and keeping your ears open, rather just saying, okay, I prayed, now let's see. You gotta just wait and just sit there and listen, and he will tell you what will come next. And I believe that with my whole heart.